I see my family has been on the ocean.
Oh, wow.
How's everyone doing?
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
Yom Yom.
No, but learner, you're on mute.
Go ahead, you could start. You could start. Anybody hear anything?
No, we don't hear you.
Now he's not on mute.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we hear you.
Now we can hear you.
I didn't think it made sense to give a shir on the beach.
Talus,
Why?
Pat.
So I
All
asked
the
one of my children to
It's good for Corona.
change it. Okay, so Rabbi say we're going to we're in the middle of learning halachas tonight of Tefila. Hilchos Tefila. Last week we spoke that a person should not hold things in one's hands when one's davens. Hold money or tefillin, even svarim, he shouldn't hold in his hands because he's standing before the melech. Except for a lulav, you're allowed to. It's the mitzvah, and as well you're allowed to hold a siddur because it's helping you daven. We said if a sefer falls on the ground, and you cannot have kavana because you see the sefer on the ground, so you could pick it up when he finishes that bracha that you're in the middle of. When you finish that bracha, you could turn it off. You could pick it up. Now, one is not supposed to yawn in the middle of davening.
Rabbi, could I ask a question?
Sure.
You're standing in the room and the sefer falls down and it's, I don't know, Dalit Amas from you. So you go and you end the bracha, you pick it up, then you go back to the place where you were davening because that's where you have your siddur, or do you take your siddur with you and as soon as you pick it up, you go back to daven like you're davening straight with your feet together?
The truth is, I think it's only if it's right near you, the sefer. If the sefer is not next to you, you shouldn't go and pick it up. If the sefer is right in front of you, the halacha says, nafal sefer lefanov. The sefer fall before you, ala aretz, on the land, on the ground, then you should pick it up. But if it's on the other side of the shul, somewhere else, it's not your responsibility. Meaning it's right in your vision, right in your area, right next to you, so then you're allowed to pick it up if it's bothering you. Good question. Now, a person should not endeavor not to not to burp during davening, make a greps, and not to yawn. If someone did this willingly, it's called gasei haruach, as a gaiva, standing before Hashem, and you feel like you could just, be what it's called a spashtus. You know, it's too much about yourself.
But now we have the mat, so nobody see you, nobody hear you.
Hashem does.
Only Hashem.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now you have to do it for the real reason. Now, another thing, but if someone has to, he feels he can't hold himself back, so you put your hand over your mouth. You do it respectfully. A person should not spit in the middle by davening. He's in the middle of Shemona Esrei. You're standing, you're talking to the Melech. But if you need to, because you have some mucus, saliva, you could, so you should be able to daven properly, because otherwise you're bothered with it. Now, those days, to have a handkerchief on you, it was very common. We know about this from other halachas also, that they would wear upon their belt a piece of like a handkerchief sticking on their belt. And this was like, in order if they needed to anything for a handkerchief, they would use it to wipe their nose, or their mouth. We see this halacha also comes up regarding carrying on Shabbos. Talks about the same idea, whether you're allowed to carry this handkerchief when it's on your belt. So a person is allowed to spit into that during davening. A person who needs to spit should spit behind him, not in front of him, and also not to, if he can't spit in back of him, it should be to the left, not to the right, because the right side, Hashem tzilcha al yad yiminecha. Hashem is your shadow, your shade, al yad yiminecha, next to your right hand. You have no choice. Whatever you do is fine, because you can't disturb your davening. Now, if someone has a mosquito biting him during davening, a shaila which is negaya more this time of the year, he should, shake his clothing to shake it off. So he shouldn't lose his kavanah. However, he shouldn't take it with his hand and remove it off, kill the mosquito or take it off with the hand, because this is a gnai. It's not respectable. Even when you're talking to another person, it's not respectable. For sure, when you're talking to Malach Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is all during Shemona Esrei. If it's not during Shemona Esrei, you could take it and throw it outside you could throw it out.
I had a question, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Last year or the year before, or who knows when, we had the West Nile fever that was born by mosquitoes. And on Shabbat, you'd be able to knock the hell out of them, kill them.
It was a sakana, right? It was a dangerous thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? If it's a sakana, it's a sakana. Yeah.
No question, huh?
Was it an issue in New York or was it an issue in Florida?
Now it's even COVID. We don't know if they carry it or not.
Really? They might carry it?
Yeah, they don't know.
Interesting. Didn't think about it. Now,
Good to hear that.
What happens if your talus falls off, is falling away from its proper place in davening? You want to shift your talus in middle Shemon Esrei. We're all talking these halachas in middle Shemon Esrei. So if your talus, you want to reshift your talus in the middle of davening, you're allowed to. Even if most of the talus fell off. The whole talus fell off, you cannot re-put back on the talus again.
You have to make a bracha again. That's what falls off.
Okay, true, but that's a good point. But you know, if you can't do it now, you could put it. Let's say you're middle davening and it falls off, you could put it back on and say the bracha when you're able to. But in middle Shemon Esrei, you can't even do that. You can't put it on because you're a hefsek in middle davening. You're gonna start taking the talus and putting it on. If it's still on you and you're moving it around, okay. But once the talus falls off, you would Takachu would have to make another bracha, but you can't put it on either way over here. You know, like in the talus cotton in the morning, it's the tzitzis. So those that wear just a talus cotton, they're not wearing a talus gadol. So they're allowed. They don't have to make the bracha right away in the morning. They put it on in the morning. Their hands are still not clean. They're getting dressed. They're touching their shoes. They're going to the bathroom. They make the bracha later after they say brachas. Then they make the bracha. So how do they do it later on? You're not supposed to make a bracha later after you did the mitzvah already, because you take the tzitzis in your hands. You can make the bracha because that's like oiver lasiyasa and be memashmish b'tziyosa. So the same thing with the talus gadol. The talus gadol, even if it fell off, let's say middle of Sukkot Zimmer, Kriyashma, Birchas Kriyashma, you could put it back on. Taka can't make the bracha till after Shemon Esrei, but you could put it back on, and you'll wait till then, and you'll pick the tzitzis and hold on to it and make the bracha afterwards. Now, by the way, regarding what you brought up in Negeya, making another bracha, you don't always have to make another bracha.
You also have to go into the bathroom with the talus and tefillin. You have to take it off.
So 1 second. So you don't make a bracha if you had in mind, if you realize it's falling off, you realize it's slipping off you, and you had in mind that you want to put it back on, you don't have to make another bracha. But if it slipped off without you realizing it, and then by the time you chapped, it was off you, you're like, oh, you see it fell down, you have to make another bracha, because there you didn't have in mind when it was falling off to put it back on. So you had a hefsek and a hesach hadas from the mitzvah, you have to put it on with another bracha. But if while it was falling, while it was still touching you, some part of your body was still on you, you had in mind, oh, my talus is falling, let me try to put it back on, you don't have to make another bracha once it's done. This happens a lot of times when people do hagba, or sometimes when they do psicha sa'arin, or sagira sa'arin, they're putting it back in with the sefer Torah and everything. Sometimes the talus falls off. So if they notice it while it's falling off, they don't have to make another bracha, because they obviously had kavanah to put it back on. But if they didn't notice it until it already was off, it's too late, and have to make another bracha when they put it on. Regarding going to the bathroom, if you had to go to the bathroom and you had your talus filling on for davening, in middle davening, when you put it back on, talus, you do not make another bracha, and tefillin you do. Tefillin you have to make another bracha.
Even if you have a mind, you'll put it back on?
Yes. Yes, the halacha is
Gemara.
that.
Oh, wait a minute, Michal. The Gemara, I think in the Gemara it says that it's a matter of interruption. It depends on the length of time that you have it off, whether or not you can put it back on without a bracha.
So that's true, but that's talking about in the case where you didn't go into a place like a bathroom. When you went into a place like a bathroom, it's different, because the bathroom is a place where you cannot wear tefillin. you're not allowed to wear tefillin in the bathroom. It's usher. So since you entered a place which is usher to put on tefillin, you should make a bracha when you put it back on. Not that everyone necessarily agrees with that, because some people taina that our bathrooms don't, you see, our bathrooms don't have the status of the bathrooms of old. Because of the bathrooms of old, which you sometimes see in certain campsites in different places and in third world countries, where the tsoya sits there. It doesn't go away. So it goes into a pit, let's say. It's just basically a hole on top of the ground, which they have like a toilet seat. And the tsoya goes in, the excrement goes into the ground and it just sits there. So it doesn't go away. So that's a real Beis HaKisei.
Yeah, in Uman you see that in the old behind the homes. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were talking about tefillin.
Right.
Yeah.
So some taina that's called, that our bathrooms are not called a Beis HaKisei Kavua, because you flush it and it gets clean. However, the fact of the matter is that our bathrooms are not clean, and the toilet bowls are not clean a lot of times, and the kids make sure it's not clean. So it's basically not a clean place, not only germ-wise, but even from the bathroom perspective, it's not a clean place. And therefore, most places can hold that our bathrooms today do have the status of a real bathroom, Beis HaKisei Kavua. Therefore, as soon as you enter into that place, it's not like a room where, you know, the theoretic, what the other poskim are saying is that when I enter into a bathroom where the tsoya is flushed away, it's not like I enter into a bathroom. It's like I entered a room in my house. It's like someone used a pan, and then in a regular room, and then he went and moved the pan somewhere else. Is that make the whole bedroom into a bathroom? No. They want to say the same idea of the bathrooms today, but this is very difficult to understand, because the bathrooms today, practically speaking, are dirty. So we do treat it like a Beis HaKisei. So even if someone only goes in for ketanim, not for gedolim, is going to urinate, even though urination alone, if someone would urinate outside in the field, he would not, and he wouldn't touch himself, he would not need to make another bracha on tefillin. Even if he touched himself, he washes his hands, he doesn't need to make another bracha. Why? Number one, you only went to urinate. Number two, you never went into a bathroom. You were outside. But since we consider our bathrooms as a proper Beis HaKisei, which Chazal talked about, as a makim tamei, that you go in there, you cannot say a bracha, you cannot say anything because it's a bathroom. So therefore follows that even if I went in for ketanim to urinate, as soon as I walked into such a place, I separated myself from the tefillin. When I come out, I have to make another bracha on my tefillin. This is what I was makabel, that this is the halacha. Now, for talus is different. Talus is different. Someone went to the bathroom on Shabbos or another time when we only wear a talus. He took it off, he put it back on. He does not need to make another bracha. Reason being that me'ikar hadin, you're allowed to wear a talus in a bathroom. Just like we wear tzitzis in a bathroom. People always wear tzitzis in a bathroom. The reason why we don't wear a talus in the bathroom is because the talus is a bigot that we use for davening. Since we don't wear it the rest of the day, and we use it specifically for davening, it's like a gartel, it's something which is miyuchad, designated for davening. Therefore, out of respect, we don't bring garments which are designated for davening into a bathroom. But from the straight viewpoint of halacha, you're allowed to walk into the bathroom of the talus. So being that that's the case, going into the bathroom does not mean that you separate yourself from the mitzvah of the talus, of tzitzis. When you come back out, you don't need to make another bracha. Yeah, it's clear?
Hey, Rabbi, what about the tzoah of an animal or a bird that doesn't smell?
Not a problem. It's not a problem. If it doesn't smell, it's not a problem.
Michal, just a brief question. if you wear a talus after davening, is it considered a bigot?
Yes, you can walk with it on the street on Shabbos. It's a bigot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted to say something else. Oh, the reason being, I want to explain just the difference between a talus and tefillin. We're getting a little bit off the tangent, but talus and tefillin. Why can one go with one's tzitzis into the bathroom? And just a talus, because we use it only for davening. We, out of respect, we don't. The tzitzis we don't use only during davening. Tzitzis we wear a whole day. So therefore, it's not considered a bigot tefillah. We do go into the bathroom. But tefillin, it's also to wear in the bathroom. The reason being is there's a difference between tashmishe mitzvah and tashmishe kedusha. Tzitzis has a status of tashmishe mitzvah. It's a bigot. The bigot itself is not holy. It's just a regular four-cornered piece of cloth. It is not something with a Shem Hashem on it. It's not written in parashas of Torah. It's a piece of cloth. What happened? You could put tzitzis on any four-cornered bigot. So the tzitzis, it's just serving the purpose of the mitzvah. It's called tashmishe mitzvah. It's there to help the mitzvah. The mitzvah should be done. But it's not in itself have kedusha. It's just a garment. Tefillin, on the other hand, have in and of itself kedusha. It has the four parashas of Torah, of Shema, V'hoyin Shemaya, V'hoyin Kibiyacha, and Kaddish, Likol V'choyer, are written inside with Hashem Hashem many times. It's something which has kedusha. It's called tashmishe kedusha. That's why you're not allowed to go into a bathroom with tefillin.
Rabbi, on the question on the talus,
Yeah.
if you make a bracha and you already drew down the beneficence from above, why would you have to say another blessing for?
Well, and you're doing another mitzvah. You're doing it again. Like once you disconnected yourself from the mitzvah, so it's considered like you're doing the mitzvah a second time. So you're doing the mitzvah a second time. It's every time you do the mitzvah, you make a bracha. If a person, by the way, we know our custom is we put on tefillin during davening, right? But what happens if someone time later on the day you want to put on tefillin? You want to feel holy and wear tefillin. You're allowed to. You have to make a bracha on it. Later on the day, you decide you want to daven mincha and tefillin. You have to make a bracha on it because you're doing a mitzvah a second time. As long as you didn't disconnect yourself from the mitzvah, you don't make a bracha again. Once you disconnected yourself from the mitzvah, by either hesach hadas, by having that you thought that you're not going to put on anymore, like let's say the talus falling off someone's shoulders without one realizing it, the hesach hadas, or hefsek because of the time lapse, like David was saying before, that there's a time lapse in between the mitzvah. You waited a long time before doing the mitzvah again. That makes it mafsik you. It's a hefsek between the mitzvah and disconnects you from the mitzvah, and therefore you have to do it again. Make another bracha.
But the Rebbe was very scrupulous, and Rabbi Groner watched him like a hawk that his talus wouldn't fall off. One other question, when I put away my talus and tefillin, I put the talus on top of the tefillin. That's what I was advised. Maybe we learned it somewhere.
The reason why we put the talus there is that when we open the talus bag, we should first come across the talus because we need to put on the talus first.
Right.
If we would come first on the tefillin, then we'd have a problem. We'd have to go past the tefillin.
We'd be passing over the mitzvah.
Exactly.
Right.
And regarding Rabbi Groner, we don't all have Rabbi Groners behind us helping us keep our talus on, so we don't have that luxury. And mainly you see this happening during when people do Hagbah, they lift up the Torah, or they're putting back the Sefer Torahs in the Aron, where people's talus, or for whatever other reason, people's talus could fall off. So as long as you had in mind, you realize it's falling off, and you planned on putting it back on, there's no problem, no need to make another bracha. But if it fell off entirely without you having anything, realizing it, then when you put it back on, you need to make another bracha. There was no hefsek because there was no interval of time. This was seconds, maybe a minute, and there's no interval of time, not a hefsek, but it's called hesech hadas. Hesech hadas, my mind was disconnected from the mitzvah because I didn't have a mind to put it back on when I came off. It was mesiach das from the mitzvah. There was no hefsek, but it was mesiach das. So whether both can disconnect you from a mitzvah, whether you had hesech hadas without any hefsek, or even hefsek, a long period of time without wearing the talus or tefillin. Even if you had no hesech hadas, you had a mind, I'm going to put it back on, but it's so many hours on by, when you re-put them on, you have to make another bracha. Because hefsek in and of itself disconnects you from the mitzvah, and hesech hadas in and of itself disconnects you from the mitzvah. Oh, now we come on to very important halachis of having kavanah and davening. So a person needs to prepare himself. His guf, he needs to prepare himself. His mokim, he should have a proper mokim, he needs to daven. He needs to prepare himself before he davens. But the most important thing, he prepares his machshava, his mind. A person's supposed to have kavanah in his pirush hamilas, the meaning of the words that he's saying. Like it says in the pasuk, Tochin libam, takshiv oznecha. Your ears should hear what you're saying and listen. And you should see yourself as you're standing in front of the Shekhinah. You should remove all machshavas that disturb you. You should remain with a pure machshava and kavana in his davening. You should think that if you were davening before a king of flesh and blood, you'd also prepare yourself before. Be careful how you talk to him. Organize your words. And you would think about what you're saying, not to make any mistakes when you were standing in front of a king. Halachas kama v'kama, kal v'choyim, we're talking about Malach Machal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you need to have kavanah. And even when you have just machshava without dibur, when you're just thinking, because Hashem sees your machshavas. And the Chassidim, the Chazal tell us in Maseches Brachos that the Chassidim and Anshe Maisa, they would isolate themselves and have kavanah and davening to the point, the meditation to the point that they left Gashmias. And they would reach to a level that the ruchnius of themselves would rule over the materialistic aspect of their body, till they would reach close to a level of nevuah, of being a prophecy. So obviously this is very far from anything that we're shaykh to do, but this is just bringing out a point what Tefila is really about. Tefila is really about connecting yourself to Hashem and becoming spiritual, removing yourself from everything around you, forgetting about all of the different things that you need to take care of, your shopping lists and your business activities, whatever it might be that might be bothering you, disturbing you, and to focus on your purpose and your mission and Hashem. And if someone has another machshava that comes in the middle of davening, he should be quiet and wait and try to remove the machshava. Now, when we talk about davening before a melech basav adam, so it's very hard for us to relate to this today's because, we're not in a kingdom. We don't relate to the concept of a king. It's not something that we understand. We live in democracy and everyone has a daya. No matter who you are, you can have an opinion and you have a say in the matters of the kingdom. But the concept of a melech was a real concept in the times of Chazal and in later times, throughout until World War II. A lot of close to World War I, World War II, where Klal Yisrael lived in countries where there were kings, there were kingdoms. And the concept of a king was very obvious. They understood what it meant a king and a fear of a king and what does it mean standing before a king. That's what we find. This is a mashal all over in Chazal and in Svarim, always a mashal of the name Melech Basav Adam. We don't have this mashal anymore. The concept of a president, you see, people are mezalzel in the president. People talk negative a whole day about the president. He's not a melech. People make fun of him, people laugh at him. In a kingdom, there's no such a thing. Everyone has the utmost derech eretz, utmost covet for the king. And if he doesn't have, he keeps it in his mind, he doesn't tell anyone. It was famous in Russia when the communists took over, was in 1917, was the Bolshevik Revolution. There was a number of groups then that were fighting over, after the Tsar was overthrown. There was also people that wanted democracy in Russia, and people that wanted communism. There was the whites, there was the reds, and there was different groups that were aiming for control of the government. So at that point, the Tsar was thrown over, and the Tsar was actually killed. I mean, my Zayd al-Shalom told me he remembered seeing the Tsar fleeing from the Bolsheviks chasing him. They were chasing the Tsar's family, and they were conquering more and more. They were taking over the place. And he remembers seeing the entourage as they were fleeing, going through the city, until eventually the Tsar was caught and the Tsar was killed, was hung. So the Tsar was a concept that they lived with. So Hasidim were fabringing then after the Tsar was killed, and they said that we have now lost a mashal that's brought all over Torah. We have lost this mashal. We will no longer appreciate, the new generation will no longer appreciate what is the concept of standing before a king. They weren't really wishing the Tsar, the Tsar wasn't such a good person. They didn't like the Tsar too much. He wasn't such a lover of the Jews. But they were saying the concept of kingdom and kingship is something that we don't relate to. We don't understand what this means.
Rabbi, what about the bracha? When you see like Trump or something, can you still say the bracha that Hashem gave, like whatever that bracha is?
Not so pashut. Not so pashut that you make on an elected individual who has just a few-year term, and he's very limited in what he could do. He has Congress, he has Senate, he has the court. He doesn't have a lot of freedom to do what he wants. Very, very limited actions. I think there are certain places that say you could, but I believe that majority of places will hold you can't. So I think what's accepted is that when you see the president, you say it without the shame of Hashem. You would say Baruch Ata Melech Ha'olam. We say Baruch Ata Shechalak Mikvoide Labasav Adam. Just say without the shame Hashem and Melech. Shem Malchus, without the Shem Malchus. Just say the bracha like that. I don't think the president would know the difference, what it was said or not.
There was a meeting with the president. They was collecting money for his next one, not long ago in Manhattan. So Rabbi Jacobson was invited to be there. So when he came in, he said the bracha with Shem and Malchus, and then he said it in English. He was so happy, he gave him a hug.
But I don't know, maybe if he wouldn't have said it Shem Malchus, he also would have given him a hug, I don't know. A friend of mine, a colleague who's a Rav of a shul, he actually, he knows Rabbi Jacobson. So when he saw that, he wrote him a message saying that, it seems that maybe, so he said that he wanted to rely on those that said you could, whatever. But it's not simple that you could say such a bracha. I'm not a mumche. If I'd have to meet the president, I would go look in the halachas and look them over again. But what I understand is accepted all the years when Chabad or when Agudas Yisrael or other groups, Jewish groups, have met with the president. They never say the bracha. With I don't know if they say the bracha at all. And if they do, they say it with B'li Shem Malchus. I mean, this is something which is very common. There are people every year, Jewish from people that meet the president, and we don't know people saying the bracha. It's not a common thing.
What about when you meet like the king of Saudi Arabia or
No,
something like
those are real kings, you know. So king of Saudi Arabia, you don't want to start up with them,
that?
you know. So
Off with the head.
that's right. They have they give the sayif. They still give misa sayif. So there are definitely countries in the world where the mashal still applies and people still understand that. I don't know, is Morocco is a real kingdom, Morocco? They have a king. Is it like a real king?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know.
I
With
think
the
it's a
Queen of
king. I don't know
England,
exactly what his power is,
Yeah,
but
they have a king. They have,
the Jewish people have a good relationship in Morocco. I don't think Morocco has a relationship with Israel. Morocco has a very good relationship
with the
with
Jews, yeah.
with the local Jewish community. They're very friendly. I think there was even a time, there was a number of years ago, there's a drought in Morocco, and the king asked if the Jewish people can daven for the rain. I think there was even a time maybe he came to visit the shul. He has a very close relationship. I think that the previous one, maybe his father, the Lubavitcher Rebbe had a relationship with letters with, I think, the previous Moroccan king, or maybe the one before that. But something that started maybe through the shluchim that were there, but he actually wrote in letters to the king about different things. The Rebbe actually, interestingly, had enough letters that he wrote. There is a bunch of letters that Rebbe wrote back and forth with President Reagan. And the Rebbe liked Reagan in certain aspects that he focused on education. The Rebbe liked that he focused a lot on chinuch, and the Rebbe very much encouraged that education. We know education is a separate ministry, but I think that years ago education was not. It was maybe included with health or something else, and the Rebbe was very pushing pro that education has to be have its own government office, if I recall.
What about is Russia?
Again?
Is
I'm not sure, but maybe it's my connection. I don't hear you clearly.
What about is a Russia? It's an evil man.
Who's a Russia?
The president or the king.
I think you make the bracha either way, because it's an honor, meaning for the Payil, he has a power of honor. Hashem gave him a certain power, and if he has that power, you make the bracha. Shechalak mikvaydai. Hashem gave of his honor to a bas of Adam, that a bas of Adam can have some type of semblance of kavod that belongs to Hashem. So there were many most of the kings throughout the history were not necessarily very loved by the Jewish people, but they said the bracha and they gave all the respect to whatever that was necessary to give to the kingdom. You know, people get concerned. They see, like in Iran, that Jewish people sometimes speak against Israel or speak against Jewish people, against different things from the rabbi there. It's all because they're forced. Obviously, they have no choice, and they have to show that they are against Eretz Yisrael, and they're scared for their life. So therefore, they once in a while have to make certain statements, and they have to mourn when their generals are killed and things like that. They have to show that they're sad and they're mourning because their life is in, unfortunately, a very big sakana, living in such a place like Iran.
Well, like in Mitzrayim.
Yeah. Now, if someone cannot have kavana for Pirush Hamilis, for the words that he's saying, at least he should think in his heart while he's davening things that humble him, and shouldn't think other thoughts. Think thoughts about Hashem, and think about Aviv Shebashamayim. And before one davens, one should think about the greatness of Hashem. We should think about what is a person to be haughty? We have nothing to ourselves. We're just low beings. We are here just a short period of time in this world. We cannot do much. We're very limited creatures. A person should realize what we are and realize who Hashem is. And he should remove all pleasures of manly pleasures from his heart before davening. This is something that Rebbe would always quote, this halacha, when it came to the concept of learning Chassidus. It's important to learn Sfarim, which talk about Hashem before davening, to get your mind into davening, or to think in your thoughts, in your mind, even without a sefer. Think in your mind a few minutes, a moment or two, about that you're davening to Hashem and who Hashem is. I recently heard someone had sent me a clip of a video where a certain modern Orthodox rabbi, he's not in this world, he's an Olam HaEmes, but Lamaisa, it was a video from a number of years ago, and it was discussions about modern Orthodoxy, and so one of the people in the crowd, an elderly individual, asked him, how come we don't talk a lot about God? We don't hear a lot about him in our circles. We talk about doing this mitzvah, that mitzvah. We don't hear about Hashem. So the rabbi answered back, I'm sure he didn't mean harm, but it wasn't correct the way he was bringing it out. But he said that we like to focus. We don't want to focus on abstract ideas. We want to focus on the practical, on the main thing, which is how we should behave, the mitzvahs we do, and how we behave. But abstract ideas. So this is very far into our religion. Our religion is based all about Hashem, and the mitzvahs are all about Hashem. So we can't divorce the rituals from the mitzvah, from the mitzvah HaMitzvahs, the one who commanded them. Now, I don't think he meant to do that. Obviously you understand we're doing mitzvahs because Hashem told us, but basically it came out that there's some abstract idea that we don't really see or relate to, and let's focus on the things we need to do. So yeah, Hamaisu Iker, you have to do the mitzvahs, but we're all doing this for Hashem, and we're serving Hashem. So if a person goes through his whole life not thinking about this abstract idea, this is a very big problem. We're supposed to have a relationship with Hashem, and it's real. We're supposed to daven to Hashem, we're supposed to talk to Him, and believe in Him, that there's a being that we're talking to, and He controls the world, and He controls the happenings, and everything happens by Hashgacha. So that's why it's important to learn Svarim, different Svarim that talk about Hashem. Otherwise, Hashem remains an abstract idea. So to hear someone, and a religious person, saying that Hashem is an abstract idea, this is, for me, was very shocking. This is something that, it's true, it's abstract. We have to make it less abstract and make it a reality and focus on it. So we behave in a certain way. Some people feel that Torah gave us a way how to live a good life. And that's what the Torah is about, is to tell us a good way to live life, meaning the Goyim don't have someone giving them a proper behavior, how they can live a good life, productive life, and a meaningful life. Hashem gave us mitzvahs, and He gave us practical, meaningful life. It's true, but that's not what it's all about. It's not all about us and about whether we have a meaningful and whether we have more of a productive life, and whether we're being more moral. Those are true concepts, but Hashem gave us the mitzvahs. We have to do the mitzvahs. These are what He told us to do. There's a side benefit that if we keep the mitzvahs and the Torah, yes, we do have a better life, and we keep a menschliche life, and it's an upstanding life. It's a yashastika life, and it's content, and it's a kiddush Hashem. It's a very big kiddush Hashem. When a non-Jew sees a Jew keeping to the Torah, it brings out respect. But that's not ultimately why it's here. It's not here just to create that kiddush Hashem. We have to do the mitzvahs because these are what Hashem told us to do. This is our relationship with Hashem. Now, children in shul. What about children in shul? A person is not supposed to kiss his young children in shul, because you should, when you're davening in front of Hashem, you don't show love to someone else, to someone else. Children which are disturbing their fathers in shul, you should not bring them to shul. So, you know, some people, they're very makbid to have the child come to shul and sit the whole davening. The child does not need to come to shul and sit the whole davening. He's a little child. He needs to daven for 10 minutes, for however long his Rebbe davens with him, his Mora davens with her, 5, 10 minutes, 50 minutes. That's it. Then let the child go outside the shul. The child could go play, could go home. But the child doesn't have a chiv to go sit through the whole davening. Even as they get older a little bit, they're still children. And it's hard for them to go and sit and daven the whole time. Like, and not only it's hard for them, people can teach their children to not dislike davening because they don't like it. It's the father forces them to sit. I one time saw a father forcing his son, having his son point every word into Chazar Hashatz. And what is he doing to the child? He's a little child. He was a young boy. He wasn't the bar mitzvah. And he's having him point in every word in Chazar Hashatz. You know, maybe you should do, if you feel it's an important thing to mechanech him, you could do maybe one bracha. And tell him when you're older, you'll do that when you're older. But now, the child, you can always tell the child is much more davening to daven. But right now, at your age, you don't have to daven the whole davening. Snapshot, you're telling him that you don't have to daven the whole davening. No, you when you're going to be bar mitzvah, you'll daven the whole davening. And the children are coming and disturbing the davening. You can't bring them to shul. So if some shul wants to make a children's program somewhere else, very nice, make a children's program. Other than that, it's not fair to have the children disturbing the davening.
Rabbi Lerner?
Yes.
Are you allowed to give a Chassidish kush to somebody in the shul?
I was afraid of this question. People do. I don't know what. I'll tell you one answer. I'll tell you one thing. I one time saw, not a Chassidish, I saw a Litvische write that this concept, what it says in Shulchan Aruch, not to kiss one's children in shul, is not referring to the shul. It's referring to when you're davening in shul, in midst of davening. So if you're not in the middle of davening, it's different. That's what he wanted to taina. I didn't go research to go look up to see if what he's saying is correct, but it seems to be correct. You know, logically speaking, it's not a problem of the shul. It's a problem of during davening. But maybe a Chassidish kush may be a little different. Maybe it's just a Shalom Aleichem. Maybe it's just sort of like a Shalom Aleichem. It's not an ava, you know. But during davening, one should refrain during davening from this.
Yeah, but the thing is that sometimes, for instance, the French, they kiss you on this side and this side and this side and this side. That's not considered Chassidish kush. That's their minhag.
We're not French. We're not French.
Not a problem now.
So if your cheeks are grabbed by a Frenchie, you don't really have much choice. But you know, we don't do that. You know.
Okay, the Arabs also kiss each other. What are you gonna do?
It's not a thing of shul. I think it's a middle davening. You know, you always have a tzaddik. The Svardim kiss the hands of a tzaddik in shul, right? They kiss the Rebbe's hands. The Rebbe would let them kiss his hands. But when they wanted to kiss the hands, take the Rebbe's hand. It's a Svardi minhag. I don't think it's a concept. I think it's more of a concept of during davening, one shouldn't be kissing one's children during davening. Okay, in Mirza Hashem, we'll be mamshich next week. The Vaila, I hope it's okay, but we're continuing with Zoom. I spoke to Abin Razov, and he says that meanwhile, a lot of people feel more comfortable with the Zoom, and he said when in shul people are wearing masks, it's difficult to participate in the shiur. So, but if the Olam wants to come back,
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi.
Shul, I'm more than happy whenever the Olam wants to. So maybe we'll be phase 3 whenever.
There was a Chassidish guy that davened by Hilchos. So somebody that's not a Chassid yet came to him and he says, "You're wasting time. You know, you could sit and learn." So he said, "The davening that I daven give me Ruach HaKodesh." He said, "Yeah, start with thinking the last hour. Pause. He say, you're thinking for only about God. He said, no, I didn't think about God for 1 second.
Gute Nacht.
Yeah, gute Nacht. Gute Nacht.
So much,
Thank
Rabbi.
you,
Thank
Rabbi.
Yashikoa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, good night.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.